Let me ask you something honest. Think about the last time you failed at something. Maybe it was a job interview that didn't go the way you planned. Maybe it was a relationship that fell apart. Maybe it was a project you worked hard on, only to watch it fall short of expectations. Now here is the important question. What did you say to yourself in that moment? Did you think, I'm just not good enough for this? Did you wonder if maybe you were never cut out for it in the first place? Or did you think, that didn't work, so what can I learn from it? That small difference, that tiny shift in how you interpret failure, might be the single most important factor in determining where you end up in life. And this is not self-help fluff. This is backed by decades of research by one of the most respected psychologists in the world. Carol Dweck is a professor at Stanford University, and after studying thousands of children, students, athletes, and professionals over more than 30 years, she discovered something remarkable. The way people think about their own abilities shapes almost everything. It shapes how they handle challenges, how they respond to criticism, how they treat others, and ultimately, how far they go. She called this discovery the science of mindset. And once you understand it, you will start seeing it everywhere. The two mindsets, fixed vs growth. Dweck found that people tend to operate from one of two core beliefs about intelligence and ability. The first is what she called the fixed mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe that their qualities are carved in stone. You are either smart or you are not. You are either talented or you are not. And no amount of effort is really going to change the fundamental truth of who you are. These people spend a great deal of energy trying to prove themselves, because every situation feels like a test of whether they are adequate. The second is the growth mindset. People with a growth mindset believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Intelligence is not a fixed number. Talent is not a ceiling. These people understand that the brain is like a muscle, and just like any muscle, it grows stronger the more you use it. Now here is what makes this so fascinating. It is not that people with a growth mindset believe they are already brilliant, or that anyone can become Einstein with enough effort. It is that they believe effort, strategy, and good teaching can move them forward. They see potential as something that unfolds over time, not something you are born with in a set amount. And the consequences of these two beliefs are massive. A person with a fixed mindset sees a challenge as a risk. If they try and fail, it proves they were never capable. So they avoid the challenge altogether. They play it safe. They stick to what they already know they are good at. A person with a growth mindset sees that same challenge as an opportunity. Struggling is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that they are pushing into new territory. It is proof that learning is happening. Same challenge. Two completely different experiences. Two completely different outcomes. This is the core of Carol Dweck's book, and everything she explores flows from this central idea. Mindset in education. How praise shapes children. One of the most eye-opening parts of this book is about how mindsets are formed in children and the role that praise plays in the process. Most parents and teachers believe that the key to raising confident, capable kids is to tell them they are smart. It sounds like common sense. Build their confidence. Celebrate their intelligence, and they will flourish. Dweck's research completely appends this assumption. In one of her most well-known studies, she took a group of children and gave them a set of puzzles to solve. After they finished, she randomly divided them into two groups and gave each group a different type of praise. One group was told, "You must be really smart." The other group was told, "You must have worked really hard." Then she gave both groups a choice. They could either try a harder set of puzzles, or they could do more of the easy ones. And here is where it gets interesting. The children who were praised for being smart, the ones who heard "you are so intelligent," largely chose the easier puzzles. Because if your identity is built around being smart, you cannot risk looking like you are not. Failure would mean you lied. Or worse, that the label was wrong all along. But the children who were praised for effort, the ones who heard, "You worked really hard," largely chose the harder puzzles. They were not afraid to struggle, because struggle was part of the process. Their identity was built around trying, not around being. Then Dweck took it a step further. She gave all the children a set of puzzles that were genuinely difficult, hard enough that most of them would struggle. And what she found was striking. The kids' praise for intelligence, when they struggled, lost their confidence almost immediately. They said the puzzles were not fun anymore. Some of them even lied about their scores afterward, inflating them to save face. The kids' praise for effort responded differently. Many of them said this was their favorite part. They leaned in. They tried different strategies. They kept going. And when she finally gave both groups an easier set of puzzles at the end, the effort-praised children performed significantly better than they had at the start. The intelligence-praised children actually performed worse. Think about what this means. The way we talk to children about their work does not just affect how they feel in the moment. It builds the mental framework they will use to interpret every challenge they face for the rest of their lives. Telling a child they are smart teaches them to protect the label. Telling a child they worked hard teaches them to trust the process. That is one of the most practical and powerful findings in this entire book. Mindset in sports, the myth of natural talent. We love the idea of the natural, the person who just has it, the athlete who's born to play. Dweck takes a long, hard look at this idea and challenges it in a way that is hard to argue with. She examines the lives and careers of some of the greatest athletes in history. And what she finds again and again is that the ones who achieve the most are not simply the most gifted. They are the ones with the deepest hunger to learn, to improve, and to push through failure. Take Michael Jordan. Most people remember him as the greatest basketball player who ever lived. But what fewer people dwell on is the story of how he got there. He was cut from his high school varsity team. His response to that moment was not to conclude that he was not a basketball player. It was to go home, cry, and then practice harder than he had ever practiced before. He used that rejection as fuel. Throughout his career, Jordan famously embraced failure as a teacher. He missed thousands of shots. He lost important games. And he spoke openly about the fact that his willingness to fail, to look foolish, to keep going when it was not working, was the foundation of everything he became. Compare that to the athlete who's told from childhood that they are a natural, that they have a gift. Dweck's research shows that these athletes often have a fragile relationship with difficulty. When things stop coming easily, when they hit a wall, they can crumble, because they never built the belief that effort is what moves you forward. The fixed mindset athlete protects their reputation. They do not try things they might fail at. They do not ask for coaching they need, because asking would mean admitting weakness. The growth mindset athlete treats every setback as data, every loss as a lesson, every coach's feedback as a gift. And over time, that difference compounds. The effort investor pulls ahead of the natural, not because talent does not matter, but because effort applied consistently over time multiplies whatever talent you started with. Mindset in business and leadership, the genius problem. What happens when an organization, a company, or a leader operates from a fixed mindset? Dweck spent time studying some of the most celebrated and most catastrophic business stories of recent decades. And the mindset patterns she found are both fascinating and sobering. She draws a particularly sharp contrast between two types of leaders. On one side, you have what she calls the genius CEO, the leader who is brilliant, charismatic, decisive, and absolutely convinced of their own superior judgment. These leaders often attract enormous admiration early on. and sometimes they deliver remarkable results. But Dweck found something troubling underneath the shine. Leaders with a fixed mindset often surround themselves with people who agree with them. They do not want challenging voices because challenge feels like a threat to their authority and their self-image. They do not encourage honest feedback because honest feedback might reveal cracks in the image of infallibility they have constructed. And when things go wrong, as they inevitably do, fixed mindset leaders often look to blame rather than learn. She studied the collapse of Enron and looked at the culture Kem Lay and Jeff Skilling built. One of their core beliefs was that they hired geniuses, smart people who already had it. And the message that filtered down through the entire organization was that appearing smart was more important than being honest. Raising concerns was dangerous. Admitting problems was career suicide. The culture itself rewarded the fixed mindset, and it ultimately destroyed the company. Contrast that with leaders like Lou Gerstner, who took over IBM when it was hemorrhaging money and widely expected to collapse. Gerstner walked in with a growth mindset approach. He did not pretend to have all the answers. He listened. He asked questions. He encouraged people to surface problems rather than hide them. He made learning and adaptation the cultural priority. And over the next several years, he orchestrated one of the most remarkable corporate turnarounds in business history. The difference was not raw intelligence. Both the types of leaders are often brilliant people. The difference was whether they believed that intelligence and strategy could grow through honest effort and honest assessment. Fixed mindset organizations breed cultures of performance theater. Everyone tries to look capable while hiding what they do not know. Growth mindset organizations breed cultures of genuine problem solving. People are rewarded for identifying challenges, not for concealing them. Mindset in relationships, the perfect partner myth. Here is something that Dweck explores that I think most people never expect to find in a book about psychology and success. Mindset shapes how we love. The fixed mindset bleeds into our closest relationships in ways that can quietly destroy them. People with a fixed mindset often enter romantic relationships with the belief that if it is meant to be, it should feel effortless. They believe in the idea of a perfect partner, someone who naturally completes them, who instinctively understands them, who requires no real work to be with. When conflict arises, as it always does in real relationships, the fixed mindset person often interprets this as evidence that the relationship was never right to begin with. They were not meant to be. The connection was not real. Growth mindset people enter relationships knowing that great partnerships are built, not found. They believe that understanding takes time. That communication is a skill. That conflict, handled well, can actually deepen a relationship rather than damage it. They see challenges as something to work through together, not as proof that they chose the wrong person. This matters in friendships too. Fixed mindset people are often quick to cut someone off after a perceived betrayal or disappointment, because they believe people either are trustworthy or they are not. Growth mindset people are more likely to try to understand what happened and to give space for repair. And in all relationships, how people handle differences of opinion, how they respond to criticism from someone they love, and how willing they are to be vulnerable and honest. All of this is deeply shaped by which mindset they carry into the room. Dweck is not suggesting that every relationship deserves infinite effort, regardless of how harmful it becomes. But she is pointing out that many relationships that could be great are abandoned prematurely by people who expected them to require no real work. How parents and teachers shape mindset. Beyond the praise research, Dweck goes deeper into how the adults in a child's life transmit their own mindsets, often without realizing it. Children are incredibly observant. They watch how the adults around them respond to challenge, to failure, and to effort. And they build their own beliefs based on what they see. A parent who berates themselves after making a mistake in front of their child teaches that mistakes are shameful. A parent who says, "I got that wrong. Let me try a different approach," teaches that mistakes are solvable. A teacher who tells a struggling student, "Not everyone is a math person," plants a fixed mindset seed that can take years to uproot. A teacher who says, "You haven't mastered this yet, but let's figure out what approach might work better," creates an entirely different reality for that child. Dweck is particularly passionate about the word yet. "You can't do this yet" is one of the most powerful phrases an educator or parent can use. It acknowledges where the child is without closing the door on where they can go. It assumes a trajectory. It communicates that mastery is a journey, not a verdict. She also talks about the importance of setting high standards alongside real support. The teachers who made the biggest difference in her own students' lives were not the ones who lowered the bar to protect feelings. They were the ones who kept the bar high and gave students the tools and encouragement to reach it. Dweck calls this the combination of high expectations and warm support. Both have to be present. High expectations without support breeds anxiety and shame. Warm support without high expectations breeds complacency. Together, they create the conditions for genuine growth. The role of failure, redefining what IT means to fall short. Let's spend a moment on failure, because Dweck's treatment of it is central to everything the book is about. In a fixed mindset world, failure is an identity. If you fail, you are a failure. The event and the person become the same thing. This is why so many people go to extraordinary lengths to avoid situations where they might not succeed. They would rather never try than risk becoming, in their own minds, a person who failed. In a growth mindset world, failure is information. It tells you something is not working. It points to the gap between where you want and where you want to be. And that gap, rather than being shameful, is actually the most valuable place you can be, because it is exactly where learning happens. Dweck shares the story of a school in Chicago that replaced the traditional grading label of F for failing with the label Not Yet. On the surface, it sounds like a small change, but the psychological shift it created was profound. Students stopped seeing themselves as failures and started seeing themselves as still on their way. Not yet is a mindset. It says the story is not over. It says the current result is not the final verdict. She also addresses how people with a growth mindset handle the experience of failure emotionally. And she is careful to note that having a growth mindset does not mean you do not feel the sting of failure. You absolutely do. The difference is what you do with that feeling. Fixed mindset people use the feeling as confirmation of a pre-existing fear. Growth mindset people let the feeling pass and then turn their attention to what they can do differently. This is not about toxic positivity. It is about direction. Where do you put your energy after something goes wrong? How to develop a growth mindset, the practical path. Now we get to the part many people are waiting for. How do you actually develop a growth mindset? Especially if you recognize yourself in a lot of the fixed mindset patterns. Dweck is clear about something important from the start. We all have elements of both mindsets. No one is a pure fixed or pure growth thinker. The mindsets coexist, and depending on the context, either one can take over. The goal is not to eliminate the fixed mindset, but to recognize when it is running the show and to have tools to shift. The first step is awareness. Start noticing your fixed mindset voice. Dweck encourages readers to actually personify this inner voice, to give it a name if that helps. When you hear yourself thinking, "I can't do this," or "I'll look stupid if I try," that is the fixed mindset speaking. And the first step in managing it is simply recognizing it. The second step is acknowledgement without judgment. When the fixed mindset voice shows up, you do not need to shame yourself for having it. You can simply say, "There you are again. I see what you're doing. Then you can make a conscious choice about whether to follow it or not. The third step is responding with growth mindset thinking. This does not mean dismissing the fear. It means adding to it. If the fixed mindset says, "What if I fail and everyone thinks I'm incompetent?" The growth mindset response is not to pretend the fear doesn't exist. It is to ask, "What could I learn if I tried this? And what's the real cost of not trying at all?" The fourth step is to take action despite discomfort. Growth mindset is not just a thinking exercise. It has to be practiced. That means actually putting yourself into situations where you might struggle. Signing up for the class you're not sure you can handle. Having the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Asking for feedback you might not want to hear. The mindset shifts when you build evidence that effort produces results. Dweck also talks about the importance of process praise, not just for children, but for yourself. When you complete something difficult, instead of telling yourself, "I'm just naturally good at this," practice saying, "I worked hard at that and it paid off." This keeps you in relationship with effort as the mechanism of growth. Seek out difficulty deliberately. Growth mindset people understand that choosing the easier path consistently keeps you comfortable but stagnant. Choosing the harder path regularly keeps you growing. And over time, that growth becomes its own reward. One of the most powerful things you can do is change how you interpret criticism. Fixed mindset people hear criticism as an attack on who they are. Growth mindset people hear it as information about what they can improve. The next time someone gives you feedback that stings, try asking one question before you react. Is there something useful here, even if the delivery was harsh? That question creates just enough space for learning to happen. Finally, surround yourself with growth. Dweck notes that our environments shape our mindsets constantly. If you spend time with people who talk about problems as permanent and people as unchangeable, you will absorb some of that. If you spend time with people who talk about effort, improvement, and possibility, that too will seep in. You do not have to overhaul your entire social world, but being intentional about the conversations you have and the content you consume can gradually shift the baseline. Real examples, the mindsets in action. Throughout the book, Dweck returns again and again to real stories that make these abstract ideas feel concrete and human. One story that stands out is about a young woman named Marva Collins. Collins grew up in a world that had very low expectations for children from her community. She eventually became a teacher in Chicago's South Side, working with students who had been labeled unteachable. Students who had failed repeatedly and had largely been written off by the educational system. Collins walked into that classroom with a growth mindset so powerful it was almost defiant. She refused to accept the labels. She refused to lower her expectations. She told her students on day one that they were going to learn Shakespeare and Tolstoy and Chaucer, and that they were capable of it. And she meant it. And over time, something remarkable happened. Students who had been told they could not learn began to learn. Not because Collins had some magic method, but because she communicated an unshakable belief that effort and instruction could produce results. Her mindset became contagious. Dweck also shares the contrast between two athletes, both gifted, who responded very differently to setbacks in their careers. One, after a series of losses, began blaming external factors and withdrew from high-stakes competition rather than risk further exposure. The other took the same losses as information, sought coaching, broke down the technical flaws in his game, and came back stronger. The difference was not talent. It was not willpower in the traditional sense. It was whether they believed that the gap between where they were and where they wanted to be was crossable. These stories are not meant to be inspiring in a vague, feel-good way. They are meant to be instructive. They are maps of what it looks like when a mindset meets real life. Practical application. What you can do right now. Let's bring all of this down to the ground level, because the ideas in this book only matter if they change something about how you move through your actual life. Here are the most powerful practical shifts you can make, starting today. The first is to start tracking your fixed mindset triggers. For 1 week, keep a simple note somewhere, on your phone, in a journal, anywhere, and write down the moments when you wanted to give up, avoided a challenge, felt defensive about criticism, or compared yourself to someone else negatively. You are not judging yourself. You are just building awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. The second is to add the word "yet" to your internal vocabulary. I'm not good at public speaking becomes, I'm not good at public speaking yet. I don't understand how to do this. Becomes, I don't understand how to do this yet. This one small word signals to your brain that the story is still being written. The third is to reframe your relationship with effort. In a fixed mindset world, effort is something you need only if you lack talent. In a growth mindset world, effort is the mechanism through which talent actualizes. Start treating sustained effort as a source of pride, not a sign of inadequacy. The fourth is to actively seek out hard feedback. Identify one area of your life where you have been avoiding honest feedback, then go get it. Ask a trusted colleague, mentor, friend, or partner to tell you honestly where you have room to grow. And practice receiving it without immediately defending yourself. Take it in, sit with it, then decide what is useful. The fifth is to celebrate process, not just outcomes. When you achieve something, take a moment to acknowledge the specific work that made it possible. What did you do consistently? What did you push through? This keeps you connected to the behaviors that produce results, rather than just the outcomes themselves. And finally, extend growth mindset thinking to how you see other people. When someone around you struggles, resist the urge to label them as simply not capable. Consider instead what they might need to grow. This shift in how you see others reflects and reinforces how you see yourself. Conclusion: the life you build from here. Here is where I want to leave you. At the beginning of this video, I asked you to think about the last time you failed. And I asked what you said to yourself in that moment. If you recognize some fixed mindset thinking, that is not a reason to feel bad. It is a reason to feel hopeful. Because unlike the fixed mindset story, where who you are is who you will always be, the growth mindset tells you something different. It tells you that you are not finished yet. It tells you that the struggles you have been through are not proof of limitation. They are evidence of your capacity to learn. Every difficult thing you have ever pushed through, every time you tried again after failing, every moment you chose to be honest with yourself about where you were falling short and decided to do something about it, all of that was growth mindset in action. You already have the seed of this inside you. Carol Dweck's research did not invent something new and install it in a select group of people. It revealed something that is available to all of us, including you, waiting to be developed and practiced and leaned into more deliberately. The path from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset is not a dramatic overnight conversion. It is a series of small daily choices to try the thing you might fail at, to stay in the conversation when it gets hard, to ask for help rather than pretend you do not need it, to see other people's success not as evidence that you have fallen behind, but as proof of what dedication and effort can produce. Your brain is not finished growing. Your character is not permanently fixed. Your story is still being written. And the most important chapter might be the one that starts right now. Thank you so much for watching. If this summary resonated with you, I genuinely encourage you to pick up Carol Dweck's book. The research she shares, the stories she tells, and the depth she brings to these ideas will stay with you long after you finish reading. And if you know someone who might need to hear this today, share this video with them. Sometimes the right idea at the right moment changes everything.